Carowinds is my home park, and there's a great chance that I visit this park way too much. But everyone knows that Carowinds is past due for their next major coaster. I mean, after all, Copperhead Strike opened up 2,081 days ago. So in this round of my Burning Question series, it's all about the thrill rides and roller coasters at Carowinds, and will the new Six Flags finally start making the place where the Carolinas come together into a park that is a destination as it should be. My name is Brandon, and welcome to my channel, Theme Park Brandon. I'm really glad you're here, and Carowinds is a very interesting park just due to Ferry opened up in 2015, Copperhead Strike opened up in 2019, and it's about to be 2025, and yet Carowinds has not added a major coaster since Copperhead. Which brings me to question number one, a new rumor that's been going around the park for a few weeks now, and do I buy it, do I sell it? Well, the rumor is Drop Tower, the park's Intamin freefall tower that debuted I think in like 96, 97, it's like 180 feet tall. It's amazing. I love this ride. The drop is fantastic. I would be very sad if Carowinds does remove it, but that's the word on the street. Now, why would they? Because let's face it, Carowinds does not offer a huge flat ride package when it comes to the theme park itself. And when you remove one or two flat rides from a park that doesn't have a ton of them already, then that's really going to affect a lot of people's visits as well as the crowd flow. Now, one can argue, and Drop Tower hardly ever has a line, but people do enjoy it, and I think the biggest issue with Drop Tower is not the ride itself, but the ride's placement, because as you can see right here, it's placed way beyond Hurler's turnaround here, and if it's kind of off the main midway. In fact, there's a bunch of trees blocking the ride from the main midway area and thrill zone, so you can't even see Drop Tower. So I vote, instead of removing this drop tower, just remove some trees in front of it so people can actually see it. I mean, that's pretty much common sense. But sadly, I do think it's safe to say that the drop tower days are limited, and it would not surprise me if this ride never operates again. Which leads me to another part B to this question is, what about Cyclone? Is Cyclone safe? This aero corkscrew coaster has been in operation for decades now, and they just got the Vortex trains on it, just recently got a new paint job on it, so I feel like this coaster is safe for now, because these aero coasters really don't take much to operate at all. All the times I've been to Carowinds, Carolina Cyclone is never really down for maintenance. If it is closed, it's mainly due to staffing. But when you pair that with the Drop Tower plot of land, it is rather intriguing as far as what could be built back in that section of the park, and more on that coming up later in the video. Question number two is, will Carowinds now get more love since the Six Flags Cedar Fair merger has taken place? Because it was announced that both Six Flags and Cedar Fair's corporate offices are going to be located right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is like 5 minutes up the street from Carowinds, which tells me when you pair that with Charlotte's warmer climate and plenty of land to grow on, Carowinds should definitely be a destination park, as Cedar Fair wanted it to be in 2015 and so forth once they added Fury 325. And I firmly believe that Carowinds could do better attendance-wise as well as popularity-wise if they added some really smart attractions in the coming years. But when you add Aeronautica Landing plus Camp Snoopy expansion and then a new water ride in 2026, is that formula the best one to grow the park? I just don't see it. Unfortunately, I love Aeronautica, it's great. The Camp Snoopy expansion is great, but there's a lot of other things that Carowinds could and should be doing to make it even better. Question number three is always a good one, and everyone asks me this, and I love answering it. When will Carowinds remove Vortex and Nighthawk? Well, what if I told you that Nighthawk might not ever open up again? I'm just saying, I think it's very interesting how they have this pathway blocked that runs underneath Nighthawk for Winterfest. The park has never done that before for their holiday event, and I think it's rather interesting, especially when you pair that with all the other coaster removals going on in the chain. Nighthawk costs a lot of money to maintain every single year, and this year the coaster only ran with one train ops. That's ridiculous. So the good news is, I feel like Nighthawk could get removed over the next year. I really do firmly believe there's a very good chance of that happening. But sadly, Vortex, I would remove it immediately, do a 2-for-1 special, remove both of these coasters at the same exact time. This would free up a massive plot of land in the center of Carowinds, and they could do a ton of great things with this. And if I was in charge, I would make a central hub in the park with a great outdoor stage area that's larger than the one they have at the moment, to add in a few more retail shops and food areas. Then, to top things off, add in a new roller coaster surrounding this entire area and interacting with it. But I do believe that 2025 will be the last year for Nighthawk, and then Vortex probably has around 2 or 3 more years after that, I would say, at this given moment. Question number 4. Will Carowinds ever RMC Hurler? And believe it or not, I've said it in past videos, trust me, I want Hurler to be RMC'd. Something needs to be done with the ride because the first half is actually rather enjoyable, and Carowinds has done a great job on smoothing it out. But it's just a boring ride. It doesn't do much at all. The second half could use some TLC for sure. Even so, it still is a not that interesting of a coaster. And that's unfortunate because Hurler is Carowinds' only major wooden coaster. But with that being said, Hurler is the 5th most popular ride in the park among the park guests as far as ridership. Yes, the 5th. I know it's crazy, but a few years back, Carowinds posted a blog about it, and to my knowledge, that number has not changed, and it's still very popular because it always has a consistent line when the park is rather busy. I personally don't understand the appeal of Hurler for park guests, and I never will. I hope no one really rides it, so the park is forced to do something with it, but that's just my opinion. But the big question is, will Carowinds ever RMC Hurler? And unfortunately, as long as the coaster is as popular as it is right now, that will not come into play, unfortunately. Who knows what happens 5 years out or so, or even longer. But as of right now, Hurler is not being considered to become a hybrid coaster, which really does suck, because I really feel like there's a lot of cool things that RMC could do with this model to make it different than Twisted Timbers, to make it even a better overall coaster. And just imagine riding a great RMC coaster right next to Fury 325. Just saying, that is the dream scenario. Now the main draw for Carowinds is obviously Fury 325, arguably the world's best Giga coaster and by far the best coaster ever from B&M. And if you love Fury as much as I do, then you have to check out my Feel the Sting shirt, like the one that I'm wearing right now, that has an overview of the coaster's layout as well as the ride stats. And you can find this shirt in all sorts of different colors at keepridingcoasters.com. I really do appreciate all the support. Now, my 5th burning question is, what type of coaster and when will Carowinds add next? And if you look at the rides lineup, this park could definitely benefit from a few different types of coasters. And as I said in past videos, a great GCI wooden coaster would do great for Carowinds. I also really love the idea of a larger version of Hang Time coming to Carowinds, a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster featuring around 5 or 6 inversions, plus a beyond 90-degree first drop. Another great coaster that I could see coming to the park is a B&M dive coaster that's around 200 to 250 feet tall. And lastly, the coaster that I'm most intrigued about would have to be a Vekoma tilt coaster. And out of all 4 of these great coaster designs and models, I feel like the best one for Carowinds, and now that Cedar Fair is working with this company more, the one that has the biggest chance of happening at this moment, I'm gonna say the Vekoma tilt coaster. Just imagine a ride larger than Siren's Curse, offering 3 trains, 4 to 5 inversions, a bunch of airtime hills, a couple tunnels. Something like this will be so marketable for Carowinds and would do so well, in my opinion, for the park, especially if it's located where Cyclone is and the drop tower. Placing this massive new coaster in the back corner of the park would look great on Carowinds skyline. And another big reason why I feel like Carowinds hasn't grown as much since 2015 is because the Copperhead Strike. It's a great ride, and the park visitors do love it, and it's very popular. But the problem is, as you're driving past Carowinds or on Interstate 77, you cannot see Copperhead. Now, I really am a firm believer of people driving by, they look over and see something new, they're going to want to stop. Like Kings Island, of course. That's a perfect example. So if Copperhead Strike was a little bit taller and stuck out on the Carowinds skyline as a new attraction, I really feel like more people would notice that and visit the park. That is why this tilt coaster could be over 200 feet tall and again located in the back corner of the park, so everyone in the parking lot on I-77 and Carowinds Boulevard would have a chance to see this massive new coaster. I really do feel like Siren's Curse at Cedar Point is going to be a very popular attraction among both people like you and I, coaster enthusiasts, as well as the general public. That is what I really want to see happen for this plot of land and for Carowinds. The new water ride that's coming in 2026 will be opening up in the Rip-Roaring Rapids plot of land. So that means 2027, hopefully, we'll get a new coaster that is located either where Drop Tower and Cyclone's located or the Dinosaurs Alive plot of land. This area next to Afterburn is really large, and there's a lot of cool things that Carowinds and any coaster manufacturer can do in this location. Now, if you're visiting Carowinds, you have to check out my Carowinds Ultimate Guide video, where I share with you all sorts of tips about this park, as well as I share with you my Carowinds plan of attack, so you can have the best day possible when you visit. And for your convenience, you can find a link to that video on the bottom of your screen right now. With that being said, what are your thoughts about my 5 burning questions for Carowinds? You know what to do, let me know in the comments, and as always, this is Theme Park Brandon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.